What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Observant Lineman. I am your Observant Lineman, Uche Nwaneri. Janoris Jenkins, released by the Giants after calling a fan the R word. Yes, indeed, Janoris Jenkins' use of the R word towards a fan, which is a slur for the mentally handicapped, the mentally disabled people in our society, has landed him on the unemployment line. But honestly, I can't say that I'm too surprised about how the Giants reacted to this situation. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you can get notified each and every time your Observant Lineman drops a new video. I know that YouTube algorithm is crazy, and sometimes my audience does not receive the notifications for my new video, so please make sure you hit that bell. Now let's get into it. Janoris Jenkins released by the Giants after calling fan retard. The New York Giants announced Friday they waived injured cornerback Janoris Jenkins 2 days after he used an insensitive term in a tweet to a fan on Wednesday. When a fan questioned why Jenkins' statistical output hadn't led to more wins for the Giants, the 31-year-old corner responded with the following tweet: "I can only do my job, retard." I think this situation flows along in the same breath as the situation with Jermaine Whitehead, where you have a player who is basically assaulting fans on social media. Jermaine Whitehead, if you don't remember, was the Browns cornerback who, after a horrible performance, threatened to harm physically people who were critiquing his effort during his game in which they were routed by the Denver Broncos. And in this situation with Janoris Jenkins, a guy who's injured, who's not on the active at the moment because of his injury, who once again, due to being critiqued by the very fans that come out and support you each and every week during the season, this guy decided that it was okay to cross that line and insult people who show support to your team. Now, this guy, by all intents and purposes, is exactly what he called his fan, because now you're sitting on the unemployment line. Now you don't have a job. You're not getting a paycheck. And if a team decides to pick you up, it will be for the bare minimum. We get trained on these things. We get trained as athletes coming into the NFL on how to deal with our fans, how to deal with the media, and what is and isn't appropriate, and how you approach both of those parts of your football life. And for me, this is just another instance of somebody being ignorant to what the situation really is and to what environment you're actually living in. You can't go online and make these kind of comments to people. Simple as that. Now, again, like I said, when we get trained on these things during the preseason, during training camp, we have people who come in, experts, people who have done studies, who will come in and tell us about the dangers of social media. Before you hit the send button, think twice. Because once you hit send, it's out there for all eternity, and the whole world will know what you've said. And in this situation, Janoris Jenkins fell victim to that idiocy of thinking that you're untouchable, thinking that your value is more than it is with a team, and that is once again proved to be quite the opposite for players who have decided to go down that route. Now we look at this situation with him doubling down, if you will, even after the comment was made. He associated his use of the word with the culture and the upbringing that he comes from, which, if you're going to use that as an excuse, then you've already lost half the battle. Here he says, "Where I'm from, we use all kinds of words for slang. If it offends anybody, I'm sorry. It's a culture that I grew up in where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? We use all kinds of words for all kinds of slang. If you don't know, it's a hood thing. Whatever. I'm not calling nobody no name or pick it at nobody. It's just something we used in the hood back at home." Now, I find that very problematic, because at the end of the day, you're not in the hood anymore, bruh. You're not in the hood. You are a professional football player in a professional atmosphere, and you are being evaluated by professionals who not only evaluate you as a player, but also evaluate the kind of person you are dealing with the fan base. And when you deal with the fan base in the way that you did, the results usually end up being the same. Whether it's Jermaine Whitehead whether it's Janoris Jenkins, these guys eventually find their way onto the unemployment line. Jenkins went on to say, I never said it was right. I said that it was a slang I used back at home. I never said it was right. It's just something I use at home. I regret it, but at the end of the day, it's my slang. So if you take it how you're going to take it, it's on you. I don't mean to offend nobody. My dad always told me, speak freely and own up to what you say. So I always speak freely as a man, and I speak how I want to speak. All right, fair enough. But if you're going to speak how you want to speak, it doesn't absolve you from the consequences of those words. And in this situation, it costs you your job. Now, if you had to go back and do it again, I'm willing to bet you wouldn't use that slang again because you want to keep that job. Now, what happens if you don't get picked up again the rest of the season? What happens if you don't get picked up next year? What happens if your career is effectively over and this is the last thing that people are going to remember you by? These are the things you got to think about before you hit that send button. Before you hit send, you must think again. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below on Janoris Jenkins and his use of retard against a fan. I'm your observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri. Appreciate you guys very much. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.